We're not hearing about Pennsylvania anymore, are we? Carson Wentz spent the game on his back. He was sacked 5 times.
Beat down.
I think Kerrigan got him 3 times in the first half. Wilbon, have we overrated this kid?
I didn't. Every other dope in the world did because they have to declare stuff now.
More of the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920, The Jersey.
That was PTI yesterday. This is the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920, The Jersey. Michael Wilbon calling people dopes. Only 2 people in the sports world can call someone a dope, in my estimation. Number 1, that's myself. And the second one is the king of calling people dopes, and that's the king, Howard Eskin, Eagle sideline reporter who joins us right now. Howard, appreciate the time, and how are you, my friend?
Hey, what makes you think you can call people dopes, number 1?
Well, that's because I'm a protege of yours, so I could call people dopes if I want. I've learned from the best. Come on.
Well, that's better. That's better. So I think Michael Wilbon went a little overboard. It went overboard because it doesn't really change who Carson Wentz is. It changes who the team around him is. And that's really what it comes down to. It's the team around him which created a lot of the problems. And he didn't have a bad game against Detroit. I mean, there was a comeback. Against Washington, there was pressure. He had 2 drop passes, and he was still 11 for 22, which is not only threw 22 times, but if you have those passes that are dropped caught, it's 13 for 22. So I think Michael Wilbon, because everybody wants to tweak Philadelphia. That's really what it comes down to. They want to tweak Philadelphia.
I also thought he was very hypocritical, Howard, because he's complaining about people being boisterous, and then he's being boisterous, and he didn't say Wentz is bad. He actually said Wentz is a good quarterback, which he is.
Yeah, I don't know what hey, he can have fun with the Pennsylvania. I get all that. It's just because people do get carried away with the things they say, but that's just part of being a fan. But he can't call them dopes, implying that they said this guy was a good quarterback. Now, like every fan, you go overboard with your praise of certain people, and people went overboard. But he did play well. It's just Pittsburgh game. He was terrific. He was better in each game he played. Even the Detroit game, he wasn't bad because he brought the team back. And in the Washington game, the pressure was just ridiculous. He was just okay. With the pressure that was there. So, I mean, he's still a good quarterback. I don't know how good, and I don't know what kind of quarterback he will eventually be, but the reality is he's still a good quarterback, and then people are not dopes that think he's a good quarterback. They're excited, and I understand all that.
To me, when I look at Wentz, and I agree with you, I don't believe that he's played a bad game yet, and I love his footwork. He's very intelligent. I love his arm. You saw the big throw this past Sunday, even when he was getting killed by his offensive line. That's the one thing, the thing he can't control. That's what's killing him, and that's the state of this offensive line. It was not good Sunday against the Redskins. What do you expect out of them this week against that lethal front that the Minnesota Vikings have?
Well, it would be foolish to think. It would be foolish to think that they're going to play great. But all they have to do is play good. Just give them a little bit of protection because Minnesota just doesn't score. I think Sam Bradford right now is the MVP. But they're not scoring many points with all that. But Sam is making the right throws, doing what he has to, does what he has to with a team that doesn't allow many points. But they just got to protect them a little bit, just a little bit. And everybody that places the blame on one player, on the right tackle, Halavati Vatai, is ridiculous because it's not just him. Everybody on that offensive line had a bad game.
No question, you're exactly right, but everyone's going to look at Big V because he was the rookie trying to replace Lane Johnson. And one thing, though, that I can't really understand and I don't like it is the criticism Doug Peterson is receiving this week. People are saying, oh, well, how can you put that kid Big V back out at right tackle? Don't you think if the coach thought there was a better alternative, Howard, he would have done it?
Yeah, well, obviously. I mean, the coach isn't trying to put a guy out there this early in the season of a team that is winning just to put him out there to get ready for the future. That's just foolish. For people to think that and for the media to try to imply that is ridiculous. That's the best option. He obviously didn't want to move Alan Barber. Is Alan Barber better at right tackle? I would imagine he is. But then are you better on the left side if you put Wisniewski in there because Jason Peters feels more comfortable with Barber there? So do you hurt your left side to help your right side, and you still have problems? So it was the best. It was the best alternative for what they had, and I'm going to trust the coach because the coach knows more than anybody else out there that's talking about it.
Howard Eskin with us, long time at WIP, Fox 29, and does a great job on the Eagles sidelines. Do you at all fault Howie Roseman for not making a move to bring in another offensive lineman? Because this Lane Johnson thing didn't just come out of right field. They knew it was going to happen for some time.
What makes you think there was a right tackle or an offensive lineman out there?
That I don't know.
Remember,
but
at that point, teams are cutting players that are done, rookie players that didn't make the team. So what makes you think that there's anybody? No, I'm not going to fault Howie Roseman because if there was a player out there, I surely would have thought, if anything, if it was a rookie player, you're going to put him on the practice squad. And if it was a veteran, you would have signed him if he was any good. But if he was any good, he wouldn't have gotten cut, and he wouldn't be out on the street. So no, it's just you can't get what's not there. You're not going to start shaking a tree and then have 10 offensive linemen fall out of that tree. It's a limited. That's a position that's really hard to find. Left tackle for sure. Right tackle is second to that.
I'm just praying, though, that Carson Wentz doesn't get hurt because I think Lane Johnson, talking about dopes, he's such a dope. I still don't understand this whole thing with Lane Johnson, how he could be this stupid to do this again. It's just stupid, Howard.
Total lack of responsibility. And that's what it is. He is a dope, and he is I just don't even understand when you have – it's not like you didn't have any strikes against you. You have one strike against you, and the second time is 10 games. And he was not going to win the appeal.
No chance.
And because he went to the arbitrator, it was 0 or 10. They're not going to give him. It wasn't a matter of it being reduced. So the reality is the guy's an idiot for doing that again and for taking something that he didn't have checked. There's a lot of products that don't have everything in that product on the label. So, but you can't do it, especially if you've been outed once for use of PEDs, and because the second time you're really in trouble. No, it was stupid. He's a dope.
Let's get to the defense. Are you concerned with the defense after the last two games?
I'm concerned with the defense after last game. In the Detroit game, they got it back together in the second half, but I am concerned with the defense the last game. They couldn't get to the quarterback. They couldn't cover. I mean, it was just there were so many problems with that defense. Fletcher Cox, of all the guys you don't expect to have a bad game, he had a really bad game. Malcolm Jenkins, even with the interception, he admitted he had a bad game. No, it's just I'm a little surprised at the defense. I thought they were better than that. I guess we'll find out on Sunday.
I still like this defense, and I'm still a fan of Jim Schwartz, but the one thing that I was scared of about Jim Schwartz going into this season was the discipline factor, because I saw his teams play in Detroit, and it wasn't only defense. On the offensive side of the ball, they had stupid penalties as well. How do they find that balance of still being aggressive but also being disciplined? Because these penalties have to stop, Howard.
Well, no question they have to stop. It's just discipline can't be coached. Discipline has to be within the player. And I still think Jim Schwartz it was a great signing in the off-season. Probably the best. I think it's the best signing in the off-season to sign him as a defensive coordinator. But discipline, it's a players' league. The players have to have responsibility for their actions. You can't always be the coach. Oh, they're not disciplined, so that's the coach's fault. They practice this stuff every week. They know what the rules are. They've had meetings about the rules with the NFL officials, with the teams. They go over their mistakes every week with tape. That's on them. That's not on the coach. And I think it's foolish to say, well, the coach, you're not disciplined because the coach isn't coaching them properly. I think that's ridiculous.
All right, we're talking to Howard Eskin. Howard, let's get to Sam Bradford coming back to Philadelphia this week. We know it wasn't a smooth ride for Sam in Philadelphia. Did the fans boo him for any other reason other than the fact that he's in the opposition uniform this weekend?
Well, they boo him because he's on the other team, and he left the Eagles because they just boo to boo. So I expect only the first time when he comes out on the field. I believe the first time he comes out on the field, that's when they will boo him. And after that, they'll get over it. But they'll be noisy and they'll be screaming at him during the game, especially if he gets in the area of the red zone on either end of the field. But yeah, they'll boo him the first time. I don't think there will be just an unbelievable roar of boos, but I think there will be boos.
Do you think, though, there's animosity with the fans for the things that happened in the offseason and what his agent Tom Condon had to say?
Well, I think his agent made the mistakes. I don't think it was Sam Bradford. I just heard the conference call he did with the Philadelphia media. I was there. And Sam's just a polite guy. He answers the questions. You may not like all his answers, but there's nothing wrong with Sam Bradford, and he's a good quarterback. And what happened, I think they got over. I think they got over what happened. It's what you do on the football field, because that was not anybody that has any understanding. There was no quotes from Sam Bradford that he wanted to be traded. It was the agent. It wasn't Sam Bradford. And a lot of times the players don't tell the agent, hey, listen, this is a mistake. Let's not do it. They let the agent do what he's going to do. And that was the mistake, not telling the agent not to do it.
You know, this Minnesota team's well coached. I've always liked Mike Zimmer going back to his Cincinnati Bengals day. And still, though, even though I think he's a really good coach, it's unbelievable how this team is still undefeated after losing Bridgewater and not having Adrian Peterson. How surprised are you with the success Bradford and company have had in Minnesota? Because going back to that trade with the Eagles, a lot of people thought that the Eagles fleeced them. I still make the move if I'm the Eagles. It's a no-brainer, but Minnesota is having some benefit to it.
Minnesota needed a quarterback, and they got a good quarterback. And Pat Shermer being there helped them understand how good a quarterback that Sam Bradford is, because he coached him as a rookie. He coached him at different parts of his career. I think both teams made out in this. I don't know that the Eagles fleeced them, but I'm not surprised with what they did, because you look at the teams that they played. They played 3 games at home. Green Bay's not as good as we thought they were. They're struggling. And Carolina was a road game. Carolina's 1-5. And I think they beat Tennessee on the road early in the season. And I still don't think Tennessee's that good a team. So who did they beat? But then you could say that with any team. I don't think they have a signature win yet. But Green Bay, when you look at Green Bay, you'd say yes, but not when you look at see who Green Bay is. So, no, am I surprised when I look back over this thing that they're 5-0? No, I'm not surprised.
Chances the Eagles get a victory this weekend?
I don't know why, but it's something. When it looks too easy, it's never too easy. And the line is only 2.5. Well, that'd be easy. Oh, well, you got to take Minnesota. When it looks too easy, it's not too easy. I have no reason to think that the Eagles right now are a better team, but the best team doesn't always win. They're on the road. The noise will be different because now not playing in a dome is not obviously that'll be an advantage to the Eagles. No, I think there's a lot of factors to consider, and the Eagles are the best road team they played. So as crazy it may sound, and I have no other than the reasons I just stated, I have no real reason to think they could win. But that's why I think they have a good chance to win the game.
You know what? It's funny you say that, and maybe people should go the other way, because I had the same exact feeling. I can't give you a concrete reason why they should win the game, and I'm not an Eagles fan, but I just still feel like they're going to win this game. I don't know why. You're exactly right.
Yeah, it's crazy. When it looks too easy, it's never that easy.
Howard Eskin with us, wrapping up with the King, Eagles sideline reporter. I want to run by the penalties with you, because I've just seen so many penalties this year. I don't know if it's more penalties than other year. I don't have the stats on that. But it seems like these officials are calling everything this year.
Well, and they're not calling things sometimes they should call. Yeah, they're calling. Well, actually, they're calling penalties that aren't penalties, and they're missing penalties. The officials are not having a good year. I think that's the way you can break it down. But let's be totally honest about this. The Eagles did not win or lose any game because of the officials.
Fair.
So, is it bad? Are they bad? Is it a problem? Yes. Does it change? Would it change the outcome of the game? No. even in the Detroit game. As bad as that crew was, the fumble is the reason they lost. That's why they lost.
Yeah, but if you're a Falcons fan, you're probably feeling slighted after this week because Julio Jones was mugged.
Yeah, I'm talking with the Eagles, but yeah, that was a terrible non-call. That was pass interference. There was another game where there wasn't pass interference on the goal line. That was a terrible, terrible call. And Atlanta could say, all right, well, we lost because of that call. But Atlanta had a lead and gave up the lead. You can't allow the officials to decide the game because you allowed yourself to be in that position. And that's the way I look at that.
And it's also amazing the battles that the NFL tries to fight because I myself growing up, I saw Ocho Cinco celebrate. I saw T.O. celebrate, even Joe Horn with the cell phones. These celebration penalties, some players are doing nothing and they're getting called for things. It's absolutely ridiculous, Howard.
And see, I disagree with that.
Okay, why?
Because it is laid out what you can and can't do. It's been explained to these players what you can and can't do. Now, do I think they should be able to celebrate more than they do? Absolutely, they should be. But it's not like this is a secret on what the rule is. The rules are the rules, and they don't want it for whatever reason. I disagree with the fact that they've made those penalties, but not that they're called penalties because those are penalties. It's that simple, and they are told that. They were told that at the beginning of the season. It's laid out for them, and it's a penalty. I don't know how else to describe it. It's a penalty, and they know it's a penalty, but the players are too stupid. Odell Beckham Jr., you're not supposed to take your helmet off in the field of play. He did. That's a penalty. Vernon Davis knew
Vernon Davis did nothing wrong. Vernon Davis been doing that his whole career when he used to score. He did nothing wrong, Vernon Davis. Odell will give you, but not Vernon Davis.
Yeah, but that's the rule. I don't care I don't know if they changed the rule. I don't know what it is, but that's the rule. You don't do anything. That's the rule. It's the rule. I don't agree with the rule, but it is the rules. And if you're playing in the NFL, you got to follow the rules. Otherwise, it's a penalty. I don't know what he's been doing his whole career, and I don't know what they did to change the rule, but that is the rule.
I just can't wait until the playoffs when one of these celebration penalties costs the team a game for just doing the ballin' symbol like Vernon Davis did. You know that's going to happen in the postseason this year.
Well, and then the players will be at fault because whether we agree with the fact that it is the rule, the fact that they violated the rule is on them. And the officials are bad enough. Don't give them a reason to make a call.
Last one for you, Howard. There's no way the Cowboys go back to Tony Romo, right?
Oh, no. Jerry Jones loves the guy.
You think it's going to happen?
There's a way they go back. They'll make an excuse to say, well, we'll wait till we're sure he's ready. But there's going to be a point where they go back to him, even if Dak Prescott's playing well. They will, because Jerry Jones will screw things up there. He always does.
And you know what? It would be great when he screws it up because they have the perfect situation right now, not only to win this year, but to win for many years to come. And if he screws this thing up, I'm going to be laughing because I don't like Jerry Jones and how he sits in his box and celebrates with Chris Christie and everyone else.
Well, he's a good guy personally, but he's not. He makes decisions that he shouldn't be making for a football team.
Well, Howard, you're not a dope. I always love talking to you. Appreciate the time, my friend.
No problem.
Thanks so much. Howard Eskin joining us on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920, The Jersey. Yeah, the celebration stuff is ridiculous.